I've got a problem. I'm 6'3" and my wife is only 5 foot even, and we have to share the same computer. Today, we're taking on the ultimate DIY challenge.
Building a custom desk that'll be a haven for both my video editing
and my design and audio mixing. This is going to be a workspace so epic that I'll need to call upon the powers of woodworking, 3D printing, and lasers to build the ultimate shared desk. Now, my wife is a big fan of cherry, so I picked up these two 10-foot long cherry boards from my local hardwood dealer. These will allow me to make a top just shy of 5 feet long by cutting them in half. Now, you can always buy a pre-made desktop or butcher block for a similar desk build, but I want the top to be pretty deep, so I can put 2 monitors side by side and 2 keyboards with one in front of the other. This is deeper than standard desks, but we constantly swap keyboards at our current desk, so having both readily available will be amazing. Now, since my jointer isn't wide enough for these boards, I'll use a homemade sled. It's simply a 5-foot long piece of Baltic birch plywood that you attach a board to and run through the planer to flatten one face. I like using hot glue and shims to attach the boards to the sled because after it's flat, it's easy to pop the board off the sled. Then I can flip it, ditch the sled, and run them through the planer again to get 2 parallel faces. To save time, I'll use my track saw to cut one straight edge on each board instead of using the jointer. That poor guy. Then I'll run them through the table saw to get the other edge perfectly parallel. Now, it's not essential, but I prefer to use an alignment aid when I'm gluing up a top. I'll be using my Domino for this build, but I've also got biscuits and dowels, and those are way cheaper. This is just faster. If you'd like a more detailed explanation of all of this, check out my video on building a dining room table where I do a full deep dive on each step right on down to the finishing. After letting the glue dry, I can simply move on and sand this down, but I want a perfectly flat surface. Slab flattening sleds are super quick to make, but I flatten a lot of tops. So I built a slab flattening jig a couple years ago, which is super nice to use. I have plans available if you want to make one for yourself with a link down in the description. Now finally, after it's all flat, I'll sand everything down to 220 grit, and then I'll finish the top with Rubio Monocoat. I moved the top into the office so that we can get on with the base. Now going sit stand will cover our height differences, but this hefty desktop needs a real workhorse to hold it all up. That's why I'm excited to use the FlexiSpot E7 Plus base. It can handle up to 540 pounds for my thick top, and it's got 4 legs for extra stability. This should be perfect since the desk is so deep and I don't want any front to back wobbling. One note, FlexiSpot did send me the base for free, but I'm not sponsored by them. I'll have a link for the base and all the other things that I'll be using in this project down in the description. Now, I've never put together a sit-stand desk before, so I want to see how long does it actually take to get the base assembled and attached to a custom top. This thing is actually pretty awesome. It went together in just over an hour, even though we were filming and doing some other stuff during it. Plus, it only took a drill and a tape measure. I'm really happy with how stable it is and the weight that it's able to take. One of the current problems with the desk that we have now is there are too many drawers for way too much stuff, and it constantly turns into a mess. To address this, I want just one small drawer with compartments specifically for my favorite pencil, a pen, notepad, and calipers. Also, I want a place for my memory cards because those are hard to keep track of. This will hopefully prevent the desk from becoming a catch-all for miscellaneous junk. I do also need an audio interface at the desk. I currently have this giant one because I was going to start a band, do all of our own recording, and get a record deal, but that didn't quite work out. Plus, it's not actually mine, and I need to give it back to the guy I've been borrowing it from. Instead, I picked up this way smaller one, And I've already designed and printed a prototype bracket mount for it underneath the desk. I'm gonna reprint it in carbon fiber ASA so it's really durable. And actually, I was planning on using the laser cutter for the drawer, but I think I'll just 3D print that as well. Originally, I planned to build a monitor stand to create a space underneath for that large audio interface. But since I went with a smaller one that I'm gonna mount under the table, I don't need that anymore. Instead, I got a dual monitor mount. This will allow me to clamp the monitors directly to the desk and easily adjust their height for whoever is using it. Also, it gives the desk a cleaner, more minimalist look, which I love. Now, I did want to tackle some cable management with this desk. I installed a cable tray onto the back, which is containing most of the wires going from the monitors and the keyboards, syncing them down to the computer. I also took my UPS and I mounted it with some of this nylon webbing straight underneath the table, which worked out great and really helped contain those cables. There are still a bunch of cables that are going from the top of the desk down to the computer that are kind of fanning out there. So to help consolidate those and make it look a little bit nicer, I got some of this cable sheathing that I can wrap around all those cables as a bunch, which will help make it look a lot nicer. I'm so happy with how this desk turned out. I think that the top is big and beautiful. I love the little drawer that has just the things that I need, and the height adjustability has been a game changer for my wife and I. If you want to make a super flat top for a desk or table, check out this video where I make a slab flattening jig for doing just that. Thanks so much for watching and take care.